Good evening, everyone. I'll be doing my speech on digital photography, basic elements of digital photography. I want to thank my audience, which is back there. Actually, let me see if I can show you. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. And they're going to be part of my audience tonight. So, imagine you're sitting outside, you're actually grilling, maybe drinking a beer or something, and you see your dog running around, drinking from the water hose, and you pick up your camera. And you try to take a photo, and that photo is not coming out right. It's coming out too blurry, it's coming out too dark or too bright, and you're getting frustrated, you don't know what is going on. Even if you try it on your cell phone, it just looks bad. It's not coming out correctly. Well, in order for a photo to be exposed exceptionally balanced and sharp, you need to master three things. That's going to be the ISO, the aperture, and the shutter speed. So, what is the purpose of this speech? I would like to inform you on how to properly use these elements and digital blurry images and to get type sharp photos, get really good, well-lit photos, okay? So why should you trust me to do this? Why should I be credible about this? Well, I've been doing photography for about 3 years. I've done about, wildlife photography, portrait photography. I've done some assistants in weddings and stuff like that. So I think I've had enough experience to actually talk about this. Okay, moving on. What's in it for you? What are you gonna get from this? Well, not everybody wants to be a photographer. Not necessarily everyone likes photography like I do. However, learning these three elements that can be found in the phone, that can be found in different cameras that you pick, or anything like that, you're gonna be able to master those three things and take really cool photos that you can post on social media. You can post on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can show your friends, you can show your family, and teach them how to take those photos too. So, moving on. Three main points that we're gonna be talking today. It's gonna be the ISO, the aperture, and the shutter speed. So, one basic element that must be mastered in order to take a really good photo is the ISO. But what is the ISO? You ask yourself. The ISO, according to the University of Pennsylvania, is the sensitivity of your sensor to light. Basically, what it does is controls how much light or how sensitive is the sensor to that light. Even the stars can be too sensitive to that sensor if the sensor is too sensitive to it. Okay? The sensor ranges, or the ISO ranges from different settings. It goes from 100 to 22,000. Regular cameras in the modern era right now, digital cameras, are in between 100 and 1600. Why is this important? Well, it is important to know the ranges and how to use it, because in order to get a properly well exposed photo, you need to understand that in certain conditions, you might need a little bit more of sensitivity to your sensor. So in a situation where everything is dark, you might need to add some ISO, some sensitivity to that sensor, so the light around you helps you take that photo and well balance the actual exposure. So another thing that you must master is the aperture. What is the aperture? Let me show you. Well, the aperture of the lens, according to Nikon.com, is the end of the diaphragm. It's right here. It's literally this opening right here, and all the light will be absorbed through it and get to the sensor of the camera. This aperture can actually be constricted or can be widened. So let me talk about that. Shutter speed, I'm sorry. This system is built in a system that allows it to open and close, allowing light to come in. The blades, if you can see them in the camera, maybe I hope you can do. There you go. The blades actually control the depth of field of the camera. So what is the depth of field? The depth of field, according to Nikon.com as well, or actually the CityTech CUNY, are in control of the depth of field in terms of the distance and the focus of your subject. So if your subject is standing in front of you, the depth of field will be the shallowness or the blurriness in the background, or the blurriness and the shallowness of the foreground of the photo. So that was why it's important to understand how constricting and opening the aperture can actually affect how the photo looks like. So you need to understand The constricting the aperture will allow less light to come in, but your background of the subject will be more sharper and less blurry, less creamy, how they say it all the time on the photography forums. So the next thing you need to actually be careful and be able to use and master is the shutter speed. What is the shutter speed and how does it work? Well, according to Kevin Jordan, the shutter's function of the camera is to regulate the length of the light that comes in. So you can actually control, if you can see right here, the camera's actual shutter speed, how fast it opens the curtain and allows the light to come in and shuts and absorbs that light into the diaphragm and absorbs the light to the sensor and take the photo. So why is that important? Well, if your shutter speed is too slow, the objects and the subjects that are moving around, like your dog that we talked in the beginning of the conversation, will be blurry. It wouldn't be sharp at all. Now, if you want to freeze that object, like in this photo right here, if you want to freeze it like that, you have to have a very fast shutter speed. If you don't want to freeze it and cause a little bit of blur, you want to have this type of blurriness, then you would take a slower shutter speed and add it to the camera or attach it to the camera. Like in this case, you're freezing the dog. The dog is moving around and just freeze it. You're freezing the water touching. So this is the functions of the shutter speed. Regulates the length of the light. It creates the blur if you want the blur, and it creates the motion freeze that if you want to create motion freeze in your photo. So another thing that the shutter speed allows you to do is actually move the light. Give me 1 second. It's create a different motion blur or a different type of light blur. If you can see in the photo back here, all these photos are moving. Let me see if I can find it. All these lights are moving. So in order to make that effect, your shutter speed has to be really slow because you're allowing the light and the subject to move as much as you want. Okay? Well, in conclusion, if you want to be able to control the camera and want to be able to control how things work on the camera and want to be able to take well exposed photos, you need to control the main things, which are the ISO, the aperture, and the shutter speed. And that is it.